Hey, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. Today we're going to make one of our newest wreath kits. It is sold out, but this is the video tutorial for the kit. The kit comes with your Pancake Wreath bundle, which is the 14-inch, the 10-inch, and the sign extender. We're going to set these aside today because we don't need them for this design. It comes with your pipe cleaners, it comes with your sign, it comes with your ribbon for your ribbon tails, which in this case is the lemon lime and the micro dots. It comes with a full roll of mesh, which I've already cut. We cut the mesh in 20 inches. I cut the mesh in 14 inches. And we have the ribbon for the bow. So let's get started. We're going to add our pipe cleaners to our frame exactly in the spots where it is designated in our frame. So the frame is nice and easy to use. It is created based on my Pancake Wreath recipe, which is 12 twist ties, and there are 6 on the outside and 6 on the inside. And we have them placed perfectly where you don't have to measure, you don't have to guess, you don't have to anything. Exactly where the hole in a notch, that is where your pipe cleaner goes. And so we worked hard to make sure it was as easy as possible for you. Again, I'm just going to add those right in. Our pipe cleaners are being attached and twisted closest to the notch. So on the outside, I'm going to twist that pipe cleaner closest to the notch. Not in the notch, but just on top, to make sure that there is a nice separation between the 2 layers that we're going to put on here. We are going to work on the outside of the wreath first and go into the inside second. Then make our bow, attach our sign, and we'll be done. So that's the order of which we are working today. The sign is the cutest. It says, when life gives you limes, just add tequila. So super fun, nice, fun, bright summer sign going on here. Super cute. Again, our mesh is already pre-cut, so it is 20 inches long. I'm going to go right into that and put them on the outside of our frame first. And what I mean by the outside is those twist ties that are on the outside. We're going to add those in first. Okay, so let's go ahead and add those. I'm just going to scrunch up the center. Again, that's 10 inches wide. We cut them 20 inches long. So I'm just going to scrunch up the center. Scrunchy, scrunchy, scrunch. Okay, and then I'm going to take that piece of mesh and add it right into the outside. Nice and tight. Twist, crisscross, twist, twist. I'm going to overlap these 2 pieces of mesh just so that I can get it to become nice and flat and kind of round. I don't know about your pancakes. Sometimes mine are a little bit weird looking. Kind of round, but mostly flat like a pancake. So that's where the name of the wreath came from. I live here in Michigan, and I was hosting classes, and I wanted to have a wreath that I knew folks would come and make and then use. Because here, most of us have storm doors, and it's a habit, tradition, whatever you want to call it, to put your wreath between, your main door and your storm door. And so I knew I needed to have a design that would fit that. But when you see in the end, it doesn't, I mean, by looking at it dead on, you wouldn't know that it was going to be flat. You'd think it was going to be fluffy. But you have all the elements of a nice big fluffy wreath, but it's nice and flat. So really cool. Again, we have that mesh with that really shiny, kind of shimmery border, which is super fun. It'll reflect the light and bounce through that wreath, and just enough. Not enough to be like, a glittery, that sort of thing, but just enough to bounce off and look like it's shimmering so perfectly. I'm going to overlap those 2, kind of tuck it under. So I am tucking those under so I can make sure that those inside pipe cleaners don't get lost, and they're going to be right where I want them to be when I come in for that center, for the center layer. Okay, so just making sure I'm not losing it in the process. And then also I want to take note that the mesh here, it's very see-through. Okay, the fun part of this mesh is the border. That's why I chose this particular mesh. The inside, we're going to cover up. You're not going to notice that it is see-through. It's not even when you have like a more expensive wreath, or mesh rather, where you're paying for all sorts of really cool things on the inside. When you're making a mesh wreath, you don't see it. So you get to see those sorts of elements and those sorts of colors and patterns when you are like making garlands sometimes, depending on how you're adding them in, when you're adding in mesh to a tree or, you know, different things. But when you're making a mesh wreath like this, whatever's going on the inside of that mesh, you won't see. So I'm not concerned that this part is real see-through, because we're going to be covering up. So again, last one, ruffle right up the center. Ruffle, 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 ruffle as best as you can right up the center. Nice and tight. Take that pinch, put it right inside your pipe cleaner on the outside. Crisscross, nice and tight. Snuggle it in there. Twist, twist. That's all I need. Just 2 twists so to keep it in place. Nice and secure, nice and snuggled. Okay, and then overlap those 2 and snuggle it right underneath that pipe cleaner. Okay, easy breezy, nothing to it. Now I've already gone ahead and pre-did our ribbons. Some of these were having a little bit of trouble, and so I want to make sure that those went on the bottom. When I make kits, sometimes the ribbon isn't good all the way through, and so for my example, I take the ribbon that is not the best. And I know some of this ribbon was kind of folded in. There it is. I want to make sure those go on the bottom. So whenever I have this is a good point. Whenever I have a ribbon like this, see how it's folded over? And even if I pull it out, it's still going to fold itself back under, right? So number one, you could take a straightening iron, like for your hair, straightening iron, and act it as an iron for your ribbon. Depending on what material it is, I would always, try it on a smaller section that you don't need, just to make sure. But you can always do that to like iron it out. But just because I didn't take the time to do that, number one, and number two, it was folded over, doesn't mean I can't use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure it ends up on the bottom side of my design, and so you will not notice it, and I'm totally okay with that. Okay, so I'm just going to put those in there and tie it nice and tight. See, this one was the same too. I'm just going to make sure I pull that out. If I would pull out my straightener, I would have no problem. It would be back to normal. Sometimes ribbon gets a little crunched, or it just doesn't look its best. It doesn't look perfect. And then I just use a straightener, straighten that. Okay. Hold on. So sorry, I got something in my eyeball. Okay. Just making sure that comes out like that. Now, we're not going to leave them like that. We are going to spread them apart. We're totally going to spread them apart, but what I wanted to make sure was I can do some steps all at once. So if I put them all in there at once, then I can cut off all the pipe cleaners, all the excess at once, etc., right? So trying to, get 5 wreaths done today. And so you always want to make sure you're taking shortcuts as best as you can. For me, it is not picking up our wire cutters 12 times during the design, and so I know I only have to pick it up twice, right? Once per layer, and that'll cut down on just a couple of seconds each. Okay, nice and tight, put that down in there. Crisscross nice and tight. Twist, 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 twist. I twisted about 7 or 8 times, just enough to make sure that when I cut it off, okay, when I cut off that excess, I'm not going to cut it off so short where it will come undone, right? There we go. So then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this forward and push it straight down. So I just push this forward so it gets out of the way, and then push it straight down to kind of crunch it all together, okay? And I just secure it all together, and then pull this up and sideways. Pull it up and sideways. Super, super cute combination there. So bright, so fun for summer. Up and down, and to the side. Up and down, to the side. Nice, pretty combination there. I used to feel like when I was younger and I got yellows or oranges or greens, I was like, man, it's the worst. Now I just think it's so pretty. Super fun, super festive. Down, scrunch it all together. Your ribbon is all wired, so once you are working right up here where everything is kind of tied together and you're moving it in place, it's going to tend to stay in place. Don't be afraid of, like for example, right now I'm pulling this, I'm pulling it up and down. I know I tied my pipe cleaner tight, so I'm not worried about it coming out of there. If you do step 1 correctly, then you don't have to worry about step 2 being a pain. Okay, kept that pattern going all the way around, letting it be polka dot line, polka dot line, polka dot line, polka dot line, all the way around, so that it has a nice even flow, nice to look at, easy to look at. All right, we're going to add our next layer just by doing the same thing, ruffling right up that center. Right up the center, going here on top. Okay, crisscross, twist, twist, overlap, overlap. Get it really flat, you just make sure you curl those ruffles, kind of turn them inside out almost. Now I've already prepped my sign at the very beginning so that it was dry and ready for me to use by the time I'm done with the design. So if you look on YouTube, there is a video on our channel that it says cutting instructions. It's actually for a Easter kit. However, the instructions themselves can be applied to any kit. So it tells you how to identify which tails in your kit are, or which ribbon are for your tails, which are for your bow. It tells you how to prep your signs. It tells you how to cut your mesh for maximum usage. It is, again, it is an Easter, it's used with Easter materials, however, from an Easter kit. However, it can be applied to all of our kits. So if you haven't watched that yet, please make sure you check that one out. Sometimes I make these videos and I do all the cutting ahead of time because sometimes it's not I do it in pieces. Like I'll cut the mesh and then my son, I can hear my son waking up, or whatever the case is. So I have that one video so that y'all can always reference back to that. Now, if you notice, I really pointed out the fact that you could see through to that frame after that first layer. And if you see, we put our mesh in, so it's started to fill out here. And then now, with this layer of mesh, because they are on the inside of the form, or inside of the frame, they're a little bit closer together. So this and this is closer together than this and this, which means this mesh barely touched, and this mesh completely overlapped that mesh. So if you see here, you see a lot less of that frame. Not that you can't see it at all yet, but you see a lot less of it with this second layer going on. So a lot of you will get to that first layer and you're texting me right away and you're like, something's wrong. I'm not doing it right. And I just got to say, trust the process. You got to just keep going. And if as long as you're doing it the way I'm doing it, you'll end up with a wreath that you do not see the base, which is the goal. Right? Right. Okay, 2 more pieces on this layer. We do have the recorded tutorials just like this, sometimes for our kits. Sometimes we are live on Facebook making them. So in that case, we do record from overhead and then still post them on our YouTube channel, just so that the kits can all be in one place. So if you've purchased any kits from us before in the past, you'll find them here on our YouTube channel. Or if you wanted to see any kits from the past, what they look like, you can see all of those. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy the bright green. Coming in right on top with that next layer of ribbon. Again, I'm not going to play with the ribbons. Once I put them in, I'm not going to touch them and place them. Like, for example, I'm not going to move those around until the very end when I know we're just getting ready to take it up to the camera for pictures. So what I don't want to do, especially on days like today when I have 4 or 5 to still do, I don't want to continue playing with the ribbon and messing with it and moving it around, because honestly you could do that throughout the whole entire design. I know that because I lifted it up and down, I lifted it side to side, that once I have it in place, in its final place, it'll stay. Unless I'm moving it, the wind moves it, that's fine. But I want to have the most seamless, fastest, that's what I was looking for, process as possible. And I can't do that if I'm constantly playing with those ribbons. They'll be there. You'll be able to fix them, I promise. Just the least number of times you play with them, the least number of times the mesh is moved, the least the mesh will fray. Like, all those things kind of play into the same factor. And so you want to make sure that, you're doing your best, but also you don't have to touch the ribbon all throughout the whole time. Not necessary. Okay, and I'm just going to cut that excess off, just like we did in the bottom layer. Again, not necessary, just easy to have it nice and clean. right? Okay, rid of all this. Now, for this layer, I'm going to push it down, just like we did on the outside, but then I'm going to push, instead of pushing straight down, I'm going to kind of snuggle it in. I'm going to kind of push it in a little bit so that it can kind of really separate our two layers here just a little bit more, okay? Distinguish that just a little bit more. See? Nice little layer there. So fun. So fun. Again, I'm not trying to make sure that they stay nice and neat. I'm going to do that at the very end. There we go. Last one. Perfect. Okay, so now we have this kind of open hole in the center. We have our sign that's been prepped. And for this one, y'all, we do have 2 zip tie mounts for your design. I opted personally to just leave this up here and use that to secure my pipe cleaner. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Sometimes when they're on there, I just, you know, say a little prayer. Hopefully it'll hold. But if you wanted to, you can always use, you know, the other zip tie mount. I wouldn't try taking this off of there. I have tried that before, and then it kind of bends the front. So I wouldn't personally try doing that. All right, so we're going to make it so that our just like that. Okay, so I'm covering 1, 2, 3, 4 pipe cleaners. I'm going to put my bow over here on the side, and then we can hang it like this, so the bow kind of looks like it's sideways. You know, words can be sideways. You can hang it however you want, but I'm going to put the sign so that it covers those 4 pipe cleaners, just like that. Okay, it's going to be a little, a little tricky. I think we're going to be able to do it. Get my fingers up underneath there so I can get both of those pipe cleaners. Right here. I want it right here. So I pulled my pipe cleaners under so I could wrap it around the frame, twist it, and hide it underneath. And then again, I'm putting those pipe cleaners through the layer of mesh. I'm not moving mesh out of the way so that I can get to the frame. I am actually moving it or putting that pipe cleaner right through all those layers. Just exactly like that. So I did hide all of those 4. Okay, again, we're going to come back to the ribbon and play with the ribbon to keep telling myself to not worry about it until the end. Okay, so then we're going to take our ribbon. We're going to start with our plaid. If you know me, plaids are my very favorite. We are going to talk about that in the upcoming class that we are teaching this next week. It will be available on replay if you seem to watch this after the class is over. It is April 8th, 9th, and 10th. And we will be talking about color coordination, pattern pairing, and matching supplies for wreaths. So my tail is going to be about 7.5 inches. My loop is about 6. I'm going to pinch. Pull it apart, twist, and loop. Look at it, eyeball it, pinch, twist, and loop. And then, of course, pinch. And one last time, twist. I'm twisting that ribbon to make sure I always see the pretty side so that I'm not seeing the underside. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go with the solid green. So our tails, by the way, our tails for our kits do come kind of folded just like this. They're all wired. So if you ran your finger along the edges, it will smooth them back out. Same thing for our bow. Just run your finger along the edge. Again, we're going now with a 1.5 inch. Everything gets a little bit smaller as we go along. So I'm going to pinch here. Pull it apart just like we did the tails. Twist and loop. Kind of eyeballing it, making sure that those are about the same length. Twist and loop. And pinch. And twist. Now the one thing, we have loops here. We want to make sure our loops go over here. So our 2 loops are always going to go opposite of each other. I'm going to set that down in. And then I'm actually going to go with the limes. I know that might feel a little bit different, but I do want my yellow to go right on top. That's just me. You can do however you want. You can put that yellow, the limes on the top. Oh, gee. All right, let's do that. I was thinking I really wanted the yellow on the top, but maybe I'll leave the limes. No, I'm gonna stick with my ground. Stick with my ground. Stick with my ground. Okay. I think a little bit smaller as we go. Pinch, pull it apart, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop, pinch. Anybody want to take a guess as to why I'm not putting that on the top? Just out of curiosity, what y'all think. Okay, now we're going to go in with that yellow on the top. Again, tail. Center loop is about 3 inches. Pinch. Twist. Loop. Pinch. Still get the 3 loops not including that center loop. That is just going to be the thing that helps me hide my pipe cleaner. Pinch and twist. So my 2 loops are over here. My 2 loops are going to go opposite. Okay. I'm going to lift off. Once I get that up a little bit, I'm going to take my thumb and my fingers on the bottom, kind of squish it together before I lift it all the way up. Take my pipe cleaner, add to the top, nice and tight, keeping the center structure of that bow nice and tight, stacked nicely. Okay, then I'm going to take my center loop, move it right up to the top, kind of wiggle it back and forth. Make sure all of my tails, or I'm sorry, all of my ribbons kind of don't touch each other. So I want to stagger them so that they are spread apart, creating that pattern look again. Remember, just like we did with the ribbon tails. So that you get to see all of those ribbons all separate. Super fun. Once the bow is in there all together, we'll fluff it a little bit more, but super fun, nice and bright, bright, bright with that yellow and the green. All right, now let's get our bow in place. I'm going to go right out there. Now, there were extra holes in that frame that I usually don't use ever. Every once in a while, it works out where I need it. And so I'm going to try to knead it right now. Take my pipe cleaner, go right through that little hole there. I'll flip it over and show you in just a second. There we go. So it happened to be right where I needed that bow to go, so I just used it right up instead of going around the whole entire frame. I'll switch it over and show you in just a second. So there was a little extra hole here, so there's a couple of them around the way, and it's meant to be exactly what I used it for. I didn't want to, I wanted my bow to happen to go right there. And so I didn't want to wrap it around the whole frame, so I wrapped it just around that little piece. Excuse me. Super easy, super cute. Let's go ahead and kind of actually twist this whole bow. Don't mind me. These are the tails, the bottom tails are the longest part of your bow. So I just wanted those to go along the outside. And then I'm going to take those pipe cleaners that were along that inside that we just had here and kind of tuck that one under, just because you're probably going to be able to see it a little bit. Okay. Now I can fluff, fluff, fluff. Just working out perfect. Absolutely a darling. Okay, remember we still have to go and fluff out all of our, well, it hides it a little bit, but it's okay. Okay, last thing we do is go through and make sure all of our ribbons are nice and fluffed. You can see them all. No one is hiding. All of our tips are pointing out towards the edge. Nothing's kind of curled under. I try to do my best to do that just to make sure, you know, once your customer gets it, it's going to shift in transportation. At least they have an idea of what it's supposed to look like so they can help fluff their own wreath. I mean, it's not metal, right? We're not going to put it in one spot and it's going to stay in one spot. It's our job to make it look the best, at least in the video. I'm sorry, in the pictures. And when they get it, it's gonna shift a little bit. That's gonna happen. It's not gonna stay in one spot for shipping. Can you imagine what that shipping box goes through all the, you know, post offices and people changing hands and all that stuff? So if we can give them the best picture, plus the best picture will help sell your wreath. So if we can give them the best picture in that listing and they see, oh, this is what it's supposed to be, then it'll help them fluff their wreath once they get it. And, you know, look the best, right? Look the best. There we have it. Super duper cute. Beautiful, nice and thin. Okay, all of those layers of mesh, all those layers of ribbons. Really, really cute. When life gives you limes, just add tequila. Super fun summer wreath. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. I did add an extra pipe cleaner. In my own personal opinion, I like to add different color pipe cleaners when I'm adding my hanger. But I'm just going to use this as a hanger. I'm just going to make a nice big round loop. I know you can't see that, but I'm making a right big round loop. And just twist it on there so that I have a designated spot for myself and my customer to hang it. So that they don't look at it like, which way should I hang it? Should I hang it this way? Should I hang it that way? I don't know. Should I hang it this way? If I have a loop there on the back, kind of gives them a little direction. And I like to, again, I like to put it in different colors rather than kind of, you know, blend in, just so that it's real clear, you know, what they can do, where they can hang it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I hope that you enjoyed. We have more videos just like this. Please make sure you're subscribed and following us and all the things on our social medias. If YouTube is your thing, we have videos for you. If hanging out and being social is your thing, we have Facebook for you. I can't wait to see you in the future, and I will see you again soon. Bye, y'all.